Hi everyone, so I'm going to show you today how to make fake glass for your miniature windows, for your miniature models. So first of all, you take the frames for the windows, and whether you've made them yourself or from a kit like these, and stick them onto some sticky back plastic. You know, that kind of plastic stuff that you used to cover books in school years ago. I just got this from the stationery shop, and it's just sticky back clear plastic, and you stick the frames on, and obviously the adhesive of the plastic is going to hold the plastic sheet in place, and then just cut round the windows to cut off the excess, like so. And you need for this a nice sharp pair of scissors or a nice sharp craft knife, just so you can get nice neat edges and cut right close to the windows, so you don't have weird bits of plastic sticking out afterwards. And don't worry about the inside of the windows being sticky or anything. Doesn't matter, to be honest, because over time it just means a bit of dust will stick to them, but that'll add to the effect of your abandoned room. So I'm just cutting around this big window, like so. Then I'm just going to cut off this excess plastic that I don't need. And then I'm going to show you a little trick to do next. So here's what they look like so far. Now you want to make, if it's like an abandoned room like what I'm making, like a derelict building or something like that, you're going to want to make the glass look dull and dingy. And for that you can just use a tiny dab of acrylic paint on your finger and just wipe it over the glass. Now do it on the outside, not the inside like I'm doing here. You'll see me realising a bit that I'm doing it on the wrong side, because obviously it's easier to do it on the outside. It means I can cover all of the glass right up to the frame, so I don't have weird like borders around the edge of each pane of glass. So on the back I'm just taking some acrylic paint on my finger. You can use like burnt umber, you can use black like I'm using, mixtures of yellow ochre and burnt umber. It depends what sort of colour you want the glass to be. I'm just making it look a bit greyed out. And I'm just going to carry on doing that on the others. And also I'm adding some to the frames as well. What I could have done as well is used a little bit of sandpaper to sand off some of the paint from these windows to make them look like the paint's coming off. But it's fine, I'll just go over it with paint. So as you can see on the back, I'm just rubbing that paint on, like so. And you don't have to be particularly neat or anything, which is the advantage to this. You can just do it very rough. I'm just adding like a film of grime, so it's not like a really dark layer or anything. And you just add as much or as little as you want. You can wipe it off with a wipe as well if you need to reduce how much you've added. It's up to you how dingy you want your windows to look. And obviously this is going to be like the back of the model, so you're not going to see all this mess from the inside, because the way I'm going to display this model, you won't see this side of the building. Then I'm going to show you a little trick to make it look even more like glass. So what you need next is you need a heat gun or a hairdryer, and you'll watch as I heat the plastic up. Can you see how first of all it looks bubbly, and then it goes really rigid, really taut and really tight in the frame? And this is what's going to make it look like glass as opposed to sticky back plastic. So it's making it all smoothed out. It's making it really tight on the frame. So it makes it look a lot more like glass. And obviously the cloudiness will show up a little bit better as well. So there you go. So now it looks like we've got panes of glass in there. And it's like drum tight. So when you tap on it, it feels like a little drum. So it really tightens that plastic up nice. And just adds to the effect of it being glass. And it saves messing around cutting out bits of hard plastic and stuff to try and make glass. Then I'm going to dingy up the windows, and then I'll show you what to do to create broken glass. So I'm just taking some paint, just doing some very thin washes over the top, which is just me using my finger to dab a bit of paint on and rub it in, and then wiping off some of the excess. I'm just trying to make it look dingy and dull, not paint it straight black. So we've got one dingy window. And you can, like I said, you can sand off some of the paint, you can add various colours. You'll see I'll add another colour in a bit. This is just like the first layer. The more layers you do, the more grimy and dingy the windows are going to look, especially the frames. I just want to get rid of that nice bright white, because having bright white windows in an abandoned building would look really weird. Like so. And as you can see, this is nice and quick to do. There is a lot of white still on these at the time of filming, but later on I did add a little bit more. The advantage with doing washes of paint is you can add more. So you can make it as dark and as dingy as you like. So as you can see, I'm just rubbing that paint on. Very, very small amount of paint. Tiny, tiny amount of paint. But just enough just to make it look dirty and dingy. And then to create the broken glass, what you're going to need is you're going to need a sharp craft knife with a new blade in it. And as you can see, I'm working out roughly the shape that I want to cut out. But obviously if I did it like this, I'd end up with straight edges. So what I'm doing now is I'm going over some of the edges multiple times and making it look more jagged and not just like a neat little shape. So let me show you a bit closer up. So I'm cutting into the fake glass. See, I'm changing the angle of my blade, going this way and that way. And you'll see as it starts to tear up, it just looks more like jagged, broken bits of glass, as opposed to me cutting out a perfectly neat shape. Like so. So that's how I'm creating the broken glass. So lines one way, then lines the next way. And then pulling off some of the pieces. For little windows like this, I tend to only do 1 or 2 broken panes. You can do as many as you like, but I tend to just do 2, 1 or 2. You could add more. You could pretend that like the local yobs have been chucking bricks through the windows, which happens a lot in abandoned buildings. This one is like a sort of French door. So I'm going to make it look like someone's kicked the door in to break into the property once it was abandoned. And then do the same on the little window. And then I'm going to show you another little step that I'm going to add to these as well to make them look even more like the windows of a derelict building. Let me just cut a couple more holes in this one. And there. Now, anywhere where there's going to be broken windows, you're going to have it where the elements have got in. So, like, there's going to be like algae and moss growing on the window frames around the holes where the weather's getting in. So I'm adding a bit of green paint on my finger, just a little dab. Now, this looks quite bright on camera. That's because of my studio lights, but in reality, this green is darker. And I'm just adding it to around the window frames where they would have got wet, where the rain's got in, and where I'm going to have bits of vegetation coming through to look like nature's taking back the property back over. But I'm only putting the green where there's broken glass is, because that's where all the damp would be, like mostly. And you always get that weird sort of slimy layer of like algae on wood when it gets damp outside. So that's what I'm adding here. Just round where the glass is broken. Like so. And then another thing you can do as well is get some little bits of vegetation, like little twigs and things, and have them coming through the windows so it looks like the nature is getting back inside and taking over the abandoned property, which it does eventually if a property is left abandoned for long enough. So I'm going to add a little dab of hot glue just to hold it in place. And then from the back, I'm going to push through this little branch. This is from a model kit, this little bit of foliage. You can add little twigs and things that you find in the garden. You can use like, the really small little spindly weeds and things from the garden. You can dry some of them and add them. And then if you wanted like little autumn leaves, you can get some leaves from the garden, like autumn leaves. And when they're nice and dry, cut them out really small so they look like little tiny miniature leaves, and have them on the windowsills and stuff, or on the floor, or you can have some of them stuck to the window. But for this, I've only got this foliage stuff and some fake moss, so that's what I'm using. So not through every single hole, but every pane of glass I'm putting at least one of these weed things sticking through. I want it to look like there's trees around the building and they're starting to grow through into the property. And the more you add, the older it'll look older and more, it's been neglected for longer, because the trees and plants have had longer to grow through. I'm doing the same on the door. Unfortunately, that bit was off camera a little bit. But there you go. If I had like little mini vines or something, that would look good. You can bake them with some green cotton and just cut out teeny tiny little green pieces of paper or leaves, dried leaves. I haven't got anything like that at the moment, so that's why I didn't use it for this. But this little like fake foliage from the model kit is fine. Just going to add a bit on this one. And as you can see, the windows look old, they look tatty, they look like nature's taking them back over, they look like windows of an abandoned property. And obviously the more layers of paint you add, the darker the greens and grubbiness is going to look. So that's it. That's how to make grimy, damaged windows with broken glass for a miniature. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.